my name is Regina Jensen. Boy, how to put a year's worth of experience into a quick video, but perhaps I'll talk about what a client of mine said. He said he would rather have a heart attack than this. And you would want to know what this is. This is basically a massive stroke that I had, and it's just a little bit more than a year ago. And I was paralyzed completely, and aphasic, and in a coma, kind of like a beetle, like this. And my poor husband, I was having fun, I was flying around while everyone thought I was in a coma. I basically was aware of everything, almost everything. And my poor husband and daughter were suffering, seeing me. There was tubes sticking out, and this is kind of what they, what's it called, shaved my head. I remember thinking about that. I couldn't do anything about it. I was in a coma. But I thought, they're shaving my hair, oh boy. That'll, I thought, oh well, I pretended I had control. But anyway, I was thinking to myself, what is it that I would want you to know about this? What is it that I learned about from that experience? For one thing, I'm supposed to be a patient now, which I'm still handicapped, all right? And I talk funny, as you can maybe hear. A little bit, my accent was stronger when I woke up. I had a stronger German accent. I liked calling it rebooting. I called it because the experience seems to have brought me back to a younger age. Like a friend of mine said, I sounded just like when I first came in the early 70s with a stronger German accent, but I thought, oh well, better than not talking at all. And so I was wondering what it is about something like that. I know a woman neurologist had a bleeder stroke, and she made a big story out of that. I remember taking it to two of my colleagues who had strokes, and I was fine, and now I had one myself, and you wonder, what the hell is a stroke? And I remember thinking right away, I thought, I never ever thought that I didn't want this. I just thought it was curious. I thought, what the hell is this? I can't move and I can't talk. Now I have 2 PhDs, and I'm a psychotherapist, and I'm also a physical therapist. So back to the neurologist, she was watching her brain and her bleeder stroke from the point of a neurologist, and I was watching myself flying around and then having to somehow fit back into my body. I had to, first of all, I wanted to go home, so to speak. I didn't want to come back into my body, and I literally had to talk myself into it. I felt sorry about my family, and I thought, it's 2012, and isn't that why I came? And I had such an expensive, beautiful body. People stand in line for this thing. So I talked myself into coming back. But meanwhile, my poor husband was faced with the fact that he had to give over my care to the doctors and nurses. What can you do? The first day was kind of quick because they tried to save my life. I had a massive stroke in the cerebellum, which included some survival nerves, so I couldn't swallow, and I still swallow poorly, and they had to tube feed me, and that's actually how they let me home. They gave me from the intubation. They gave me a stomach tube, and my poor husband had to give me liquids through this thing, or else I couldn't have gone home. But talking about home, I remember thinking I had to somehow say home to my husband. I couldn't talk, and I thought, I have to get out of here. I'm not going to get better in the hospital. They mean well, most of them, although I have to say half of them were absolutely sweet and kind, especially a occupational therapist. She always treated me. I'm gonna cry. You know, I cry like this, and they call this is a symptom of the stroke. They call it inappropriate affect because here I'm doing a video and I'm not supposed to cry, but inappropriate it never is. It's just a stupid word because how do you know what I'm thinking? So I always am either empathic or I respond to empathy, which I just did now, or I'm just sad. It's inappropriate because I'm supposed to behave. But back to me being a psychotherapist and watching this whole stroke thing with interest, and what occurred to me was that I was flying, as I said, I was flying in my cosmic self, you could say my higher self, and then I was supposed to fit myself back into my body, and it was hard. I had to make all the agreements again that you make as a child, and I thought that very interesting, the cultural agreements that we make in a Western culture, and I didn't want to. I remember coming to this country from Germany, and I remember then having to shave my legs because this is what was done here. And I remember fighting the idea. I thought, well, God gave me hair under my arms and on my legs. I don't understand. People here think that you're not clean if you don't shave your legs. And I fought it. I cut myself shaving. But anyway, I finally relented. And obviously I'm shaving now. But so I'm used to cultural agreements and what they do to you. But it really got me in touch with what children have to do, little ones, what we do to them. You know, how they have to be. I go like this, meaning you obey, you have to behave. You know, and as a child you do it unconsciously, and the reason why I call it rebooting is because I had to do all of that again consciously. I remember my dear sister who came from Germany, from Berlin. She kept saying, you know, we don't do this here. Let's say I used to say I have to go pee pee. And my sister says, we don't want to know this. You just excuse yourself and you go away and then you come back. So it's a stupid example, but in a way, it's like that. You know, you learn to say just the right thing. And in our culture, you know, we don't like people to be heart connected, for instance. We like them to have a distant look. Our politicians are spaced out, completely gone, so we like that. We think that's power. Meanwhile, here I was in a hospital, let's say, and I couldn't talk, as I said. And so I had all of the doctors and nurses divided into heart-centered, I called it right brain and left brain, or heart-centered and mental body-centered. So the heart-centered ones, like that occupational therapist, that just made me cry. But she was so respectful always. And the physical therapist, so respectful, even though I drooled, how nice. And I didn't know, does this come from some antipsychotic they gave me? I wasn't depressed. I was traumatized, all right? You don't fall over instantly, in a second, from a perfectly healthy self like I am. I'm healthy inside and out. I remember telling my husband, you know, I maxed out. I have 2 PhDs. I could get another one, but you know, mentally, physically, emotionally, I don't know what else I can do. And you know, my higher self took me by the scruff of my neck, so to speak, and it said, oh, you want to learn something for yourself? How about learning how to swallow? You know, I remember when the doctor let down the camera, pfui. He let down the camera, he was very sweet. And he looked what the problem was with my swallowing. He says, oh, I see what you do. You don't coordinate left and right. Because my right side was more affected. You know, my eye floated, my arm was totally paralyzed and kept coming out of the socket. and the right foot uh, was paralyzed severely, more so than the other side. But then I thought, I'll be done. You coordinate left and right for swallowing. It was very helpful for me to know. But my point is, you don't know that as a child that you're supposed to coordinate something. You just swallow. But now I know I have to focus on my drink, or else I may get it in my lungs and I start coughing. But the doctor that sent the camera down, what was the point of that? I was just going to make a point of that.